In the heart of Elmwood, a town hidden beneath the shadows of neighboring cities, there was a rumor whispered among teenagers, a legend that stretched back generations. They called it the Hollow Child, a ghostly figure said to appear only on fog-laden nights when the moon was thin and the air inescapably still. No one knew exactly where she came from, but those who swore to have seen her spoke of a small girl dressed in tattered, old-fashioned clothes, her face obscured by matted hair, her eyes glowing with an unnatural, icy light. Lena had heard the stories hundreds of times from her older brother, Marcus, sometimes as a warning, sometimes as a joke. He dismissed it as folklore, nothing more than children's tales spun for fun. Still, the stories seeped into her consciousness, insidious and persistent. She always wondered why no one dared confront the legend directly, why everyone seemed content to whisper and shudder but never venture out alone on foggy nights. One particularly cold October evening, Lena found herself wandering after dark, pushed by that strange mix of curiosity and rebellious impulse that characterizes young adults seeking independence. She had heard a new variation of the legend. Tonight was the perfect night to encounter the Hollow Child, especially at the old abandoned Elmwood School, a crumbling relic long closed after a fire gutted most of its interior. Lena's friends begged her not to go, but she brushed them off, claiming she'd just take a quick look, snap a few photos, and come back. Her flashlight beam cut a narrow swath through dense fog as she approached the school, one hand clutching her phone tightly, the other gripping a half-heartedly prepared flask of cider. The school's windows were dark voids, like hollow eyes watching her approach. The building's doors, once chained shut, had become loose over the years. Lena pushed one open, the hinges squealing like a dying animal. Inside, the darkness was oppressive, swallowing her flashlight's beam. Dust and debris coated the floor, the remnants of school life abandoned in haste. She stepped cautiously, filming the crumbling hallways, when suddenly a faint sound caught her attention. A soft, childlike cry echoed through the empty corridors. Lena's heart quickened. She paused, every nerve tingling. The sound seemed to come from the direction of the old cafeteria. Her steps echoed loudly as she moved closer, the crying now muffled but unmistakably human. Turning a corner, Lena entered a small room where a broken window let in a fractured sliver of moonlight. In the shadows, she saw her, a small girl sitting on the floor, her back to Lena, hair covering her face. The figure was hunched and trembling, dressed in ragged clothes that fluttered in the cold draft. "Hey," Lena whispered, trying to sound reassuring. "Are you okay?" The girl didn't respond. Instead, she slowly turned her head, revealing a face blurred by tangled hair, a face that seemed almost to shimmer and warp in the low light. Suddenly, the girl's eyes glowed with a pale, unnatural light. Her mouth opened in a silent scream, and her face stretched into a macabre grin, more teeth than should have been possible, sharp and gleaming. Lena stumbled back, her heart pounding in her chest. The spirit of the Hollow Child was real, and it was close. From behind her, the air grew icy. A whispering voice, cold and raspy like wind through a graveyard, seeped into her mind. "You shouldn't have come," it said. Not aloud, but echoing inside her head. Lena spun around, but the room was empty again. Only the faint cry echoed softly in the silence. She shook her head, trying to dispel the chills crawling down her spine. She told herself it was just her imagination, a trick of the mind fueled by the stories she'd heard her whole life. But as she turned to leave, she caught a glimpse of movement in the corner of her eye, a small figure, just out of sight. When she looked directly at her reflection in the broken window, she saw it, her own face, but distorted, eyes too large and pale, smirking back at her with sinister intent. Lena ran screaming out of the school, sprinting past the rotting lockers and shattered desks. Her flashlight flickered and went out just as she burst through the cafeteria door, plunging her into darkness. When she finally emerged into the foggy night, her clothes were torn, her hair wild. She was trembling, gasping for breath, desperate to be free of the darkness. The next day, Lena's friends found her wandering near the edge of town, disoriented and crying. She wouldn't speak much, only whispering about the girl in the shadows. The legend was no longer just a story for the townspeople. Lena had seen her, and now she knew that the Hollow Child wasn't just a ghost. She was a warning, a curse, a part of the town's dark history that refused to stay buried. Years later, Lena moved away, haunted by that night. But sometimes, on foggy nights when the moon was thin, she'd hear that distant cry, and see those glowing eyes flickering in the darkness. And she'd wonder, was the girl still waiting in the ruins of Elmwood School, or had she followed Lena into the shadows? Some legends never die, some shadows never fade, and some children are best left unseen.